Alright guys, so today I'm talking Okay, so it's been a minute guys. Now that I have a little bit more time to be shooting videos again, kind of want to catch up on a couple questions from the last video. My buddy Robbie pointed out, hey George, why are you rebuilding the 5.3? What was wrong? I didn't really answer that. Okay? I also talked about Camaro that I haven't talked about in previous videos showing you guys. So let's start off with what happened with the 5.3 out of the Maverick. So for a little while, the car was running kind of funny. It would like misfire. I thought that's what it was. And when I took one of the spark plugs out, it looked like it had a bit of aluminum or metal on it. So I was like, oh, that's not good. I probably burnt up a piston or something, not knowing what I was doing. Turns out, these guys, Hughes Performance, they know what they're talking about. They kind of enlightened me that I'd been installing my torque converter incorrectly. I didn't have enough pullout for the crankshaft, or for the torque converter to not push into the back of the crankshaft and not destroy the thrust bearing. So I didn't. I had it completely locked up solid. As a matter of fact, I probably had it preloaded with load, and then when the torque converter wanted to push out, it would push even further into the thrust. So basically all the bearings got wiped. I threw away the thrust bearing before I can get a good photo of it, but you could see copper in the bearing. This is one of the rod bearings. This is from number 3. And to be honest, I'm very surprised that none of the bearings spun on the crank. That's why I took the crank and cam to get ground by Klein Engines. He said surprisingly that the crank was clean. It didn't need to get 10 under or anything like that. He was able to clean it up. But yeah, that's why the 5.3 was down. Bearings were all completely trash. Main bearings were much worse. I threw those away before I could even remember to grab them. So I just have one of these rod bearings, but you can tell that they were getting chewed up. Like this one was about getting ready to start showing copper too. So the 5.3 that you guys saw me put back together is now back together and has been sitting for a couple weeks. It is now a beautiful shade of blue. Let me get these rags off of it. 5.3, completely reassembled. Intakes on it. Carburetors on it. The carburetor developed an odd stuck spot in the base plate, like in the secondary. So, again, I bought a base plate from one of my good buddies. And I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but this carburetor started off as a regular Holley 4150 mechanical secondary, mechanical choke style. So what I did when I first had the car and I was putting it together NA, good God, I need to cut this stud down. Come on now. This main body is actually a Proform unit. That's why it's kind of a different color. I don't know if you guys can pick that up on the camera. And for some reason, the base plate or the throttle body itself, it has like a weird, it's like a hard spot. And I know it's not the diaphragms because I checked that. Like they're both free. So I think at some point the base plate itself got warped or something happened. It's just not happy anymore. So with that Proform main plate or base plate, whatever you want to call it, I scored myself this sweet Proform billet main plate. So I'm basically 2/3 of the way to having a Proform carburetor at this point, but it's nice. Right now I think it's set up for 30cc mechanical secondaries. So I think I have to change these cams out, or I might just switch back to 30cc secondaries because, to be realistic, I don't really need 50cc accelerator pumps on this at all. The linkage looks about the same. I checked the listing and it said that this base plate is supposed to work with my main body. Proform says it does if you're trying to build your own carburetor. This thing's nice though. It's got all kinds of cool anodized purple billet. As you guys probably figured out by now, I really like purple. Really nice actually. So I can't wait to get that on. Other than that, you'll see that the engine, beautiful shade of blue. Buddies over at the paint shop hooked me up with a free can of paint one day. And it was my first time using 2K paint or 1K. I don't know what it's called, but you push the bottom of the can to spray and it puts a hardener in the paint. Came out really, really nice. Thanks to them. Other than that, waiting to buy the flywheel to start this thing. It has break-in oil in it. I just haven't ran it yet. And then I'm just gonna rebuild the carburetor. I was thinking about taking it to the dyno, but I got better ways to spend that money, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about right now. Probably doesn't look like it, but it is a 1981 Chevy Camaro. I don't know what the codes are. I don't really care. But this is a 1981 Camaro. It's a GM product. Parts are much more readily available, but you gotta have money for them. Obviously, that's the case with most things. The plan with this is to build a nice street car, more for my dad, but still have it have performance and suspension upgrades. So the plan for this is to do a full front subframe from Speedway Motors called a G-Comp, and it's supposed to improve all the handling, give you a better turning radius, and convert to rack and pinion steering. So this right now has traditional linkage style steering where it has a gearbox, pitman arm, idler arm, drag link, and then tie rod ends in the end. Takes up a bunch of space. The crossmember itself is really bulky and chunky. So take that all off. Don't have to worry about cleaning it or making sure the gearbox works. Just replace the whole front subframe with a new clip, and then taking the car itself and converting it to manual. That's what the TKX has been for this entire time. You know, I collect engines and transmissions, and then I find a car to put them in. That seems to be the theme of my builds. So that's how the Maverick started. That's how this is starting. If you're wondering, hey, that would be a cool car if you had the rest of the car. It's because I took it all off in anticipation of using this front subframe. Either way, I was gonna have to take it off, but I was thinking about using it. But then I found the more and more money I was gonna have to spend to make this nice, I could just buy a brand new subframe for a little bit more money and have much better geometry and suspension. So we're skipping that half. As you can see in the firewall, let me get you guys. You can probably see that hole in the firewall right there. That is going to be patched here shortly. Part of that rectangle is actually where the heater box flap goes, but they were going to put a delete plate over that. But the floor was all rusted right there, so I'll give you guys a better shot of that. Right now, we've got an aftermarket patch panel we're working on, and we're going to stitch weld that in and then seam seal it. And then eventually it will get like a vintage air unit, but for the time being it's just, I don't necessarily have like a horsepower goal or anything specific with this car. I just want to make it nice and put a full interior in it and have carpet and sound deadening just to make it a really nice driver, and then eventually put AC, put a stereo in it, and then maybe even do some more performance. That's why we're starting with the 5.3 out of the Maverick, because it already had a cam and I knew it ran great NA. I liked it. This with the TKX and maybe like a 410 or 411 gear, it'll get it in the power band and keep it there. But if not, if we keep it with like a 350 or 355 and a 28 inch tall tire, it'll cruise down the freeway no problem, like at 2000 RPM. So we'll see where it goes from there. But this is still a work in progress, but it's kind of just an update for now of what's going on with the car. Right now, what I am doing is I'm doing an oil change on the Maverick because I plan on going cruising tonight over to 67th and Bell here locally. So I called Mixteca, little car show they do there, and the Mexican food's all right. So just gives me another reason to get out on a Saturday night. It's been a long day, and I'm gonna finish up what I was doing and get out there. So if you've been following my videos for a while, you know I change oil a lot on these videos. This time I went an extended period without on one of these engines, and it wasn't good. That oil is pretty cooked, I am not gonna lie. Oil that came out of this thing was pretty thin. And I think I'm gonna be a quart short, so I might have to stop at the... This thing surprisingly takes 7 quarts because it's a really deep pan in the front sump. And I think they make this one extra deep with the pickup tube, because since it is a front sump, as you accelerate, the oil wants to slosh back. It doesn't really want to stay in the front. But this pan has like trap doors and all kinds of doodads in it to keep the oil where you need it. Pretty sure I said it before, but 2050 VR1 and Wix Racing filters. I mean, technically any filter will work, but Wix Racing is what I've been running recently. Have I noticed any difference between a Wix Racing and a regular filter? Not really. I used to run the shop like ProTech filters that are made by Wix too. Only difference between these and the race ones is they don't have a bypass valve or anti-drain back valve. Does it matter? Probably not. Should I probably be running the starter to get the oil moving and then start the car? Maybe, but I don't care. In the mornings here, it doesn't really get cold enough for the oil pressure to not be building. When this thing's hot, or when it's cold, when I first started, we're starting at about 51 pounds of oil pressure, according to the gauge, and then once it heats up, we're at about 39, so about an 11-pound difference, going from about 60 degrees to 170. So, I don't know if that's a critical thing. All I know is that in the morning I let it warm up for at least 10 or 15 minutes. That way the rings have a chance to seal up and everything gets a chance to get warm and be happy. Other than that, when I'm not doing stupid stuff or racing, this thing just lives on pump gas 91. When I know I'm gonna get a little rowdy, I throw some 110 in it. Really, this thing only needs the 110 when I'm in boost, which 90% of the time while I'm driving it's not. Or it's not garbage. No, it's not. Oh, whatever I just poured in there was black. Alright. Okay. So it's got a couple extra vitamins. That's what I'm seeing. It's probably not good. Good thing I have a nice Wix filter to catch it. Regardless, that's the last one I'll pour on this video. And that's where I'm gonna end it. You guys have seen me change oil probably about 6 or 7 times in my videos. It's about the same thing every time. I see stuff on the plug that I don't like to see and I ignore it. So, that's it. See you guys in the next video.